Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Ek Soch. And today is a very interesting topic we are going to discuss, and that is going to be social media and politics. We're going to be discussing today on how social media is influencing today's political scenario. We have with us today uh, Devang Dave from Social Central. Welcome, Devangji.
Thank you, Mantriji.
And we also have with us Dr. Sukanya Iyer. Sukanya ji, welcome for today's session.
Thank you, Manpreet.
Floor is all yours, Sukanya.
Welcome, Mr. Devang Dave of socialcentral.in. It gives me immense pleasure to invite you to our new series of episodes called Ek Soch. And before I start with, I would like to thank you for your gracious presence on our show called Ek Soch. I'd like to give a brief intro to every one of you on this. Today's topic, as we all know, social media and democracy, how it has made a paradigm shift in the Indian polity. And we have an eminent personality, who handles social media in socialcentral.in and also in Indian political system too. A youth icon who plays an instrumental role towards nation building as a technocrat, as techpreneur who uses technology as a medium, rather tool to enhance and empower lives. His entrepreneurial venture, socialcentral.in, wherein you, Devang, provide A to Z one-stop shop of all digital marketing solutions, provider which also handles client base, customer base across regions of India. He also believes in digitization, which is very much the thought process of our Prime Minister, and also a visionary move, which is spelled out by our Prime Minister too, through digital inclusion, digital connect throughout India. Believer of job creation rather than seekers, furthering the cause of startup movement, a visionary step towards the present scenario and also by our present day establishment. Associated with Navyu of Entrepreneurs as executive director and also a partner, thereby creating and developing India through entrepreneurship education, creating ecosystem in various educational institutions across Mumbai and Maharashtra, associated with Y4D, a non-profit organization which also furthers the cause of developmental issues towards sustainable solutions. The achievements, rather we like to say feathers on your cap. Founder of TFI, I Support Narendra Modi, also credited as nation's youngest national IT and social media head of Yuva Morcha. Believes in perseverance, patience, positivity, and also treats on the principles of 3Ds against his 2Ds on his name. Those 3Ds, as his Twitter profile also reflects, determination, diligence, and dedication. Welcome, Devang, to our Soch series. It gives me immense pleasure to take precious time of yours and be part of our discussion. And I think you can say 2 to 3 words about yourself too.
Thank you so much, Sukanya ji, Manpreet ji, and everybody for having me on this session. I first of all, I would like to congratulate you all that you all are the series of Soch what you have started. I am sure that this series will enhance knowledge of people. Also, it will give a lot of information to our Karyakartas, and that will help in all to change and to put the right perspective, right things in right perspective.
Devang, thank you so much. Shall we start?
Yes, please.
And it's going to be an interactive session, and some of the questions that pertaining to today's social media, and also because you are being part and parcel of this front, both in the political system as well as in your entrepreneurial venture. As a techpreneur, as a technocrat also, do you believe that social media as a medium which is more connected towards, as I say connected, it's connect towards the world, and it's much needed for democratic nation, the world's greatest nation like India? What are your viewpoints in hindsight?
See, we need to go back to our history. When we say nation, when we say democracy, what does democracy means? Democracy means everybody's views are taken on. Democracy means everybody's participation is there. Democracy comes along with participation of each and every individual. Going back to older times, going back to historical times, we need to see how the elections or how the electoral political purpose was conducted. It was all very much basic. The public opinion was only gauged, and public opinion was only taken during the time of elections. It only mattered till you voted. Now, this social media has changed the paradigm of it. We see, go to the history, we see whatever the previous mediums of reaching out to people were all television, newspaper, or radio, or maybe hoardings outdoor. This all mediums were very one-way communication. What the party or the leader or the government wanted to communicate, they were only one way. So it is only that people used to know what they want to say. But how do you take a regular feedback? How do you stay connected to your citizens? How do you keep your citizens involved in all your policy making decisions? How do you take that? So social media has given that edge today, that in a true democracy, if we see a lot of our bills that national policy we are framing, it has been discussed. There is a portal called mygov.in launched by the central government. Every bill that comes in has been discussed and put in public domain for their views. Everything that government is doing, government is trying to take views from the normal citizens as well. So social media has in all created a better world, created a better, it has been a tool for a better democracy, where in a day-to-day basis, people can interact with the government can take the feedback and make policies accordingly. So what this has done, irrespective of only going to citizens once in a 5 year to take votes, this is a day-to-day battle, day-to-day challenge, day-to-day going back to people and taking the feedback and moving ahead. So it has improved the democracy, and government today also gets whole holistic view of what people are talking about them on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, that's quite insightful, Devang. Taking on this, as you said, it is as I gauge from your talk that you say, social media has made a paradigm shift in Indian polity. Not only in Indian polity, I think it has given a better perspective, because it has both effects, bad and good. So it is, it amplifies our human intent. That's what I feel. So that you spelled out. Thank you. One more thing on this note, I would like to take it further. That is, you say it has got positives. But as we all know, in today's scenario, positives are definitely destined to be overtaken by the negative ones. And as a technocrat yourself, do you feel that there is a great, moral duty from your side to understand how these technologies can be leveraged to make communities, like, we have communities, social communities, starting from Orkut or something like that, and we have evolved ourselves to FB, Twitter, as civil representatives, and also most, trustworthy. So what are your viewpoints, and how do you, see this, as a technocrat? What is your moral duty towards when you create such communities? So when you create such communities, they are representatives, they're representatives of our nation, of our opinion, of our intent. So how do you represent, what is your moral take on it? Devang?
See, social media, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said social media is a tool. Now, any tool can have multiple sides to it. It can be used positively by positive people. It can be used negatively by negative people. So social media, it is something, it is open to all, and it is based on how you use it. So in general, there has to be a lot of awareness in citizens that needs to be made, that the tool, the better you use it, better the results you get. If you go to the negative usage, the negative results you will get. And ultimately, what is social media? Social media represents the physical citizens of people on the digital world. Whatever kind of people we have even in our society, the same kind of people we will reflect and have it on social media. So it is not something that you can avoid the complete negatives, or you can only push something that is positive. Whatever the people, for example, there are some bad, we say bad eggs in the society. These bad eggs will also be part of social media, because it is a tool. It is accessible to everyone. So, but when there is a general awareness of what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is not, and that's what we do in our party as well. That we train our karyakartas that you should not abuse, you should not troll, you should not get into illogical conversations, you should not do this. So that is how not only our party but general public at large should be aware of what negative impacts that social media could have of overselling the information, and be cautious about what things go on social media individually. So that's how only awareness can make this a better place. But yes, because it is accessible to everybody, so the great part of social media is it is not controlled by any media. It cannot be controlled by anybody itself. So there are, for example, 90 positives out of 100. There are 10 challenges, and I am sure in coming times how to deal with challenges. The law, we are forming laws. Today we see various people who do rumor mongering are been silenced, or the law teaches them that what is right and what is wrong. So I think overall, because this is a new medium, this has developed in last 5-10 years or more. We as a country, as a conscious nation, and as a conscious government also, they are trying to make the right laws so that the negative impacts cannot overpower the positive, and positive will always remain on the larger side.
That's quite impactful words. But on those thought process of yours, you said nothing can be controlled, or the government is also as a stakeholder, a major stakeholder, you see. So the government on its part has also made some regulations. So the regulations has been evolving, quite transforming itself. So what is the personal data protection bill? I think last year.
Before that, I will tell you, creating regulation and controlling, these are two different terms and two different things.
Yes.
Government as a regulator can create regulatory bodies, can regulate how this digital medium should evolve.
Yeah.
But it cannot control, and it should not control, and it will. We don't see our government doing
controlling
that
the
anyway,
sense.
Going forward. Yeah.
Regulation. So, I wanted to. Sorry to interrupt you. Regulation and controlling, because you were I'm talking about the content side. So when we say that I will be coming later on to the Sri Krishna committee report and all. So there's a balanced perspective. So the content regulation. So that is what I was referring to. So you can go ahead, like you were telling about, personal data protection bill, which was, I think, introduced last year, reintroduced, which was existing in place, but it was reintroduced in 2019 in Parliament. So what are your views in that?
Yeah, see, the way internet and way data penetration, the way use of data has been grown in last 5, 7, 10 years, it is very different from how data was used before. We see now these larger companies like Google, say Amazon, for example, the TikTok was there. All these companies, when we as an individual, when there is a physical presence of a person on offline and online, the similar person online, so what happens is a lot of data is being generated. Now this data, if it is concentrated to few entities, and they know what you are doing all the time, what you are eating, what your hobbies are, where do you go. So this kind of personal and sensitive data, how this data, if the company can utilize or not, how much they can utilize, can they do something about it or not. So these are all part of regulations that government are working on, and that is where the data protection bill comes in. That personal data, initially in our lives, if we go back to 5-10 years down the line, before TRAI came up with DND, we were all badgered with a lot of unwanted calls. We were all badgered with a lot of unwanted SMSs coming from anywhere and anywhere. That's how data started selling for the first time. That our phone numbers, when we became a mobile-based country, everybody started hitting us on SMS. Everybody started hitting us on pesky calls. But then the regulation came in. The TRAI said unwanted messages should not go until and unless somebody has subscribed to it. So similarly, now when we use portals like Google, Facebook, day in, day out, Gmail, now every of this portal today is collecting data. It is collecting personal data, moreover to say. So how this data can be utilized? Can it be utilized or not? So that is what government is deliberating on. That is what the new data protection bill that is being drafted and put on table. So it will take care of all this. Moreover that, when it comes to national security, For example, the companies which is, for example, based in China, we saw TikTok collecting a lot of data. So today, because of such regulations, government can come out and stop these companies from entering into the Indian market and collecting illegal data, which is not actually sought permission from the user. So this kind of regulations government will time and again, because these are new evolving mediums. Every day the government has a new challenge, that new app comes in or new where the data has to be stored. Can this data be stored in, say, out of country or not? What kind of help center should they create in India? For example, if I want Facebook to delete all my data which I had posted because I did not know that there could be a privacy issue, there could be some personal data issue. But now when these regulations will be in place, there will be a go-to data authority where people can approach, can complain, can reach out to, can have their grievances solved. So this will in fact protect individuals' privacy and also make these companies liable if there is some data issue of the individual.
I hope so, Devang, because nowadays, day in, day out, we are hearing all those snapshots and stories. The storyboard goes a long way, and hope so the regulation comes in place and data is gold, as our Prime Minister keeps telling, and hope so the data is maintained and privacy is also strengthened. That is the aim. On that note, because you said like that, I want your understanding. How does this new bill is different from what it was? We tabled a new bill in Parliament last year, but how is it different from the old one?
See, old bill came a couple of years ago. The new factors were not factored in, the kind of evolving digital economy, the kind of evolving digital presence, penetration of internet, and new kind of apps that are coming in, the technologies that are coming in, kind of reading human activities. In sense, for example, when we say AI today can predict based on data that what you are going to do next. So now it is a challenge that how this data can be. So how the data cannot be used to manipulate a person. For example, we saw Cambridge Analytica in USA. Now this was a big opening for larger democracies across the world, that a platform or the kind of data, for example, they can manipulate somebody's voting pattern in a state or in a country, which is a big thing. Or they can manipulate a person to purchase something which may be not good for the country. So these regulations are all been incorporated. Secondly, they are also taking into the consideration the national security issues. Now, for example, if the enemy nation is been able to access a lot of data, and tomorrow if they we go to a war, now this data cannot be utilized against our citizens. That government has to take care of, and that is what this all factors will be part of the new data driven. Also, now the challenge is not only the personal individual citizens, but also the companies, startups growing in India. How they will maintain the data, how data privacy and secrecy, when foreign investors comes in, what kind of data can they have access to. So there are a lot of challenges of this evolving domain, and how to keep all this in check, plus also flourish our startup industry in our country, so that the kind of apps like Facebook and other apps we see coming from the Silicon Valley or from China, these apps could be built in India. So, this is how the entire gambit, it is the new perspective of the government, that all these considerations should be there in the new bill, even from the company's perspective as well.
Okay, that was quite insightful, Devang. One more, because being a social media person, how political parties can use social media as a tool for sustainable marketing campaign. There should be a sustainable model, right? Fine, we have used this in one particular time. It has to be sustainable. So what, according to you, is that particular marketing camp to retain that, to sustain that? How the social media is going to leverage or can be used effectively with a calibrated approach?
I will tell you, a lot of political parties don't use or don't have to use social media as part of their marketing campaign, but more as to reaching out to the citizens. now reaching out to the citizens with the right kind of information of what their ideology is, what they want to do, how they want to do it, and the plan of how they are going to do with it forward. So social media has given a leverage where you can go back to your karyakartas, you can reach out to your cadre and the people at large with the information on a day-to-day basis. Initially, in our old times, when there was a reach out, they had to have huge billboards or pay or buy huge print ads, which cost a lot of money. So now, and also there is no feedback coming in. So it is not only about reaching out, also taking the feedback from their karyakartas and their citizens at large. So political parties now are trying everybody. For example, even a small corporator or a small karyakarta or a big karyakarta, minister, government, chief ministers, everybody today wants to reach out with their message to the citizens directly. And this is the tool and this is the freedom that social media has given us. So more than marketing, it is more reaching out to people on your day-to-day activities. Today, people are more aware. Like, for example, before 10 years, if the prime minister would have to be traveling to some country for some important meeting, I don't know. I don't even in my early days don't even know where Manmohan Singh ji visited. For example, in his entire tenure, how many countries did he go? What decisions did he make? Why? The information was very limited to newspapers. Information was very limited to limited sources. Today, you see Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji reaching out to citizens on a daily basis. What he is planning for the day, where he will be available, where he will be speaking today, what he is doing, what decisions were taken. So citizens have become more aware with this use of social media, and political parties are rightly so putting down their agenda very frankly to the citizens that this is what we intend to do. For example, BJP in Bengal. Now, where we are fighting an election, a very fierce election with the existing chief minister and TMC Mamata Banerjee, BJP is pushing down that this is what our agenda is, this is what we have planned for the people of Bengal, and this is how we are going to do it. And it evolves as a citizens movement when more and more karyakartas, more and more people, associate with what you want to do, and it then evolves into a larger. It evolves into larger participation of people and larger support for the political party as well.
That's quite interesting, because my next question was also pertaining to that, because now as a digital marketing person yourself, and you answered in a bit, how do you find the effect of using the flex, the vinyl boards and other plastic outdoor materials and banners, which are very effective? You answered. Taking on to that, another point of view of social media as a leveler, I feel, in democracy. So what are the best practices, according to you, according to your knowledge, what are the best practices that are being followed of the social media, especially in Indian polity, in the current scenario?
The best practices, we see the way of information dissemination, it is happening on a day-to-day basis. The way feedback collection is happening on a day-to-day basis. For example, when a new bill is drafted, the draft is put on public domain. The political parties or karyakartas take it to right channel. For example, data protection law. We speak to various people working in the industry. We speak to various citizens, what they are doing, and then we speak to common citizens at large to get a consensus information of what everybody thinks, what will be the right points, what points that people are more concerned about, and then according to that make the draft according to that, and then it goes in the parliament for the bill. Similarly, while having budget discussions, the finance minister talks to everybody on public platform, on group platforms, on social media to take their feedback that how the budget should be, what priorities should, what people think about it, and accordingly feedbacks are taken from the citizen. And new innovative information that comes in is also incorporated in what the government is doing and wants to do. So the best practices are reaching out to the citizens, creating channels, good information dissemination on a day-to-day basis, and collection of feedback on a day-to-day basis.
On that note, I think I'll also cite that our present Prime Minister, he gave us 2 words, buzzwords. I keep telling in all my writing or something, that is connect and connectivity. So Connect, he has given a lovely platform, as you know, that Narendra Modi app. So he always establishes a Connect, and also through Man Ki Baat. So all these are all part and parcel of digital platforms. Do you think, this is my personal question to you, Devang, that digitization has it revolutionized our lives, and also not only revolutionized the lives, and also it has revolutionized and also led to oil the wheels of progress. Do you feel that it has oiled the wheels of progress of industry, the entire economy?
See, digital has brought the world closer, not only in terms of individuals, but also in terms of the whole world together. Now, for example, we recently faced, everybody is facing coronavirus. Now, imagine during this time when people don't want to go out, the digital world has given you the power of ordering things from your phone to your house, online payments, digital payments. So, it has empowered. Today, we, for example, we Ola our cars. So we, put it on an app and the car is ready at our doorstep. For example, now you take it in a layman's perspective. For example, the laborers. In this tough time when laborer wanted to transfer their money from Mumbai to their house back in, for example, in UP or Bihar somewhere, in older times it would have been so difficult to go to some money transfer or bank and then put and wait in lines and even risking himself to more to this virus. But now he can do it at the tap of a button, the UPI technology. So everything is so smooth. And I see this, the kind of technology that especially in money payments, transfers and digital world has opened up the avenues. I see country like India progressing way much faster than any other countries in the world. The kind of our population, we are accepting this kind of change. Even the small thelewalas today are ready to accept payments through UPI. That sir, this number pe based the barcode is there. You send the payments, you do it. The cash transactions are coming down. With this, now imagine a lot of cash flowing every day. You go to ATM, remove money, purchase something. The hazard of everything is coming down. And this will strengthen our economy, and ease of payments and ease of technology, ease of digitalization in every aspect. It will change the way we are working as a nation. In next 10 years time, we will see multifold progress because of digitalization.
Yeah, that's again a wonderful insight. On that, I think before I hand over the mantle to Manpreet, my last question. That is, you said about social media has made a paradigm shift, especially in Indian polity. Not only in Indian polity, I think that's also in our lives. Indian democracy, media, and public opinion, matters a lot. But for me, I feel my public opinion should reach. It can make an impact. So, does public opinion on matters of policy making, especially the social attitudes of a nation, matter? So, as a social media person, as a social digital marketing person, what are your views? How it can, the public opinion, does it really matter? What do you
see? When you call it as a democracy, it is again, democracy is reflective of public opinion. What public thinks about you, what public thinks about your things you do, what they think about your policies. So everything is very related to public opinion, and social media as a platform is way too open, and it is good for public to voice their opinion. Today, everybody is a columnist, everybody is a writer, everybody is an artist. So they can put things in perspective. If somebody goes wrong, the public opinion will be, not on the right, on their side. So they will gauge that this is going wrong. Then they will go back and correct it. So public opinion is matters, but where do you see this public opinion is only the social media today.
On that, I think, Manpreet, my last words, I think we made a transition from print to electronic version. And especially we see that even the older generations are also hooked on to digital version. And the generations that our mothers and fathers, they were liking a lot of things to be read on the newspapers, the print, but they also are reading on the WhatsApp, the e-letters or something. So all these are reflecting our changing pattern, the attitudes and attributes, and these are the ground realities of people. On this note, Manpreet, I'll hand over to you, your thoughts and your questions to Mr. Devang.
Thank you, Devang. Thank you